This is BIPC, brought to you by the Division of Communication and Performing Arts.
Hello everybody, welcome to This is BIPC. My name is Cody Vaughn and I will be your host for today. Now today I have a couple of guests from the Culinary Arts program here at BIPC, and my first guest is lead instructor Mark Starrett, and then his student Serena Levon. How are y'all doing today?
Good morning.
Good morning, I'm doing very good.
Awesome, so I got some questions prepared for y'all. So Mark, how long have you been here at BIPC?
Hi Cody, it's my second year here at BIPC in the program, in the culinary program, so still getting my feet on the ground and learning the culture.
So how long have you been in like just the culinary program, like not just here at BIPC, but like all around?
Well, I actually came out of the industry, so I was in the industry over 30 years. I started off as a busboy in the casinos in Atlantic City and ended up a senior vice president of operations in some of the Fortune 50 gaming companies I worked for.
Interesting. Well, how about you, Serena? How long have you been here at BIPC?
I've been here since 2012 in the fall, but I started this program last year in that semester. So I've been here for almost a year for this program itself.
What made you choose culinary?
My love for it between my grandmother and my late ancestors and all the traditional foods that I've learned from her. It was actually really interesting to me and I had a passion for it, so I switched over to this program.
Awesome, awesome. So what would you say is probably your favorite part about the Culinary Arts program?
The people that are in there, and the fact that we can have so much fun cooking together and we can share the same hobbies and what we love to learn to cook, and the traditional methods that we use. Also with, people, and they bring in new experience for me to learn. So yeah, that would be my favorite part, is new things.
That's always awesome. It's nice to have like people with like positive vibes around you, like help bring you up, and also it's part of having fun, you know?
Yeah, it is.
What about you, Chef Mark? What's your favorite part of culinary?
I think it's the whole aspect of being part of the culture of BIPC and trying to help people change their lives for the better. So one of the coolest things about culinary is that we ultimately introduce to our students and really to the world flavor, and we make the world more interesting, and food becomes a kind of bridge that can cross all cultures. It's diverse in of itself, and we find that it's a great way to connect with people and teach them a lifelong skill that they can be very happy with and bring themselves a lot of satisfaction in their lives.
So branching off of teaching someone a lifelong skill, when it comes to cooking, do you think it's hard? Like, do you think anyone can cook, or like just certain people, or?
Well, I would say that, do you like food? And we ask that question often when there's tours of high school students, et cetera, coming to the school. If you love food, we can teach you how to articulate that love in a way that both is fundamental, so you understand the basics, but also the greatest thing also about culinary is it's like art, and it's a blank canvas. You can express yourself through your cooking. So we look to not only enhance the skills of the students, but we also look for them to enhance our education ourselves collectively so that we all grow together.
Right, so that means like you can get people who come in, like say, they already have some cooking experience, and then there's people who don't know anything about cooking whatsoever. That's
a great point. I think one of the other neat attributes of an associate program is literally the eclectic nature of the class. So we have teenagers out of high school. We have people who are 55 years old that retired from the military. They bring with them, as Serena actually alluded to, a wealth of experience, and we all kind of tap into that with each other. And then driven by Chef Julie, the executive chef, we lay out the fundamentals of how they can best utilize that experience they have, but get it going in the right direction.
Right, right. So tell me, what different kind of degrees can be earned through culinary, or like what can be pursued after you graduate?
Well, that's a great question. It's literally parallel to any other discipline. So you could work through to a doctorate of nutrition. You could have a PhD. You know, yeah, you can have a master's. You know, several of the certified executive chefs in our country have master's degrees, and also undergraduate programs we're looking to become the pioneers of Northwest Louisiana, as most of these programs aren't available in close proximity to the population here. So our goal was to take our program, which currently is a certificate, a technical certificate, and grow it to an associate program, which we have on some tables right now with the state, and we're looking forward to delivering on that.
That's awesome. So, Serena, like, what degree do you have in mind? Are you going for a culinary arts degree or maybe something else?
I'm actually going to get my certificate here and transfer to a different college and work my way through going into a molecular science degree.
Really?
So somewhere close to a bachelor's maybe. And maybe work out of state, out of country, maybe travel a little bit, learn, and work my way up there.
That sounds awesome. So, like, with degrees on the table, is there any kind of different scholarships that y'all do, or?
Well, there's a variety of means to get into the culinary program itself. Obviously, there's financial aid, there's grants. We are the fortunate recipients of many donations driven by our foundation organization, and we look to best utilize and disperse those funds accordingly so we can grow the program. So yeah, there's ways students can get in. What we're looking for is, do they have it in their heart? Do they love food, and do they want to do something about that with their lives? It's a huge commitment in our business. It's not an easy business. You work when other people play. You work holidays. You work ridiculous hours. So it's a business that you have to be very committed and want to do. And it's perfectly okay that if our students come to us and say, hey, this isn't for us, we've got other choices at BIPSI that are good choices as well.
So with you saying like having to work like holidays and stuff and like ridiculous hours, I've heard that's a major key to when it comes to being in the food industry, like whether it be culinary or just like fast food or like working at one of the 5-star restaurants around town. Would you say, like, through all like the hard work or blood, sweat, and tears, ultimately, would you say it's worth it?
Well, for me personally, yeah. I think one of the idiosyncrasies you have to have is you have to be somewhat of an adrenaline junkie. I was blessed in my life to work with some great people. So we opened 3 restaurants with Emma Lagasse at one point with the Venetian Company, and you could work 80 hours in a week, but it was exciting to go from a blank piece of paper into something that you're putting on someone's table. The chef once said to me that we're responsible for putting other things in people's mouths, and that's a great responsibility when you put it in that perspective.
Right. So you say you enjoy what you do. Do you enjoy what you do with the culinary program, Serena?
Yeah, I really do. I've gotten more experience throughout this year than I ever have anywhere else. And this program has taught me a lot more about different cultures, and it's just given me a lot of fun and experience.
And from cultures to, say, community, if I'm correct, don't y'all do isn't it on Tuesday nights y'all do like a buffet type thing? Or?
Yeah, traditionally the programs offered buffets in the fall and spring to the public at really modest pricing. We're actually experimenting with something new this spring where we're going to offer some fixed menu, a la carte restaurant style menus, and that'll be happening in the next week, and it's for 3 weeks in March. So we're excited to try a different style because, as we all know, there's a variety of ways to go eat food, and we want our students to get as much real-world simulated experience as they can.
All right, so do you ever help with the buffet, or?
Oh yeah, I've helped a good bit. I've had so much fun with the buffet. We've stayed till probably, I think one buffet lasted till 8 p.m.
Yes, it's all mandatory that they
9.
volunteer for the buffet.
Yeah,
So it's volunteer based?
Yes, it is.
Oh,
It's, yeah.
All right, so how much, I know you learn a lot, through the classroom. Have you learned some things, from the buffet that you maybe haven't learned in the classroom, like serving people-wise?
I have, in a way, when you're actually doing front of house, when people do come in, you get the hospitality side of it. And we do have events where we actually volunteer to help, but these are just for certain students if they want to come in and help. It's volunteer work. And we have done some events for breakfasts and lunch and dinners where we actually do, let me see, it was some kind of quick fire. At one time we made a banana fossa, which was something I learned, and also we got into contact with some of the guests that came in, and we learned to serve and help guests out. So yeah.
Awesome. So with cooking on the table, what would you say is probably the hardest thing you've had to make?
Cooking on a table, the hardest thing I've ever made so far, it would depend on which dish you're doing. I wouldn't technically say everything's easy to make. Everything has its own characteristics. It's hard, depending on how high of a level you actually great at cooking itself. So I don't really have a thing in particular where I find hard, but it's more of a, I guess, new thing to you. And everything is hard. You just learn to practice and get better at it.
And then through practice, you gain more experience, and it gets easier on you.
Yes, exactly.
Right, like trying to make the perfect steak, huh?
Yeah, that's a little bit difficult in terms of how long you have to have it on and for how high the heat is.
And
You
then
have it
different
on.
people's preferences.
Yes.
So what would you say is your favorite thing to make?
My favorite thing so far this semester that I've made is probably when we were working with salmon. I've got to actually taste different, like, unique ways of actually preparing it and how you're slicing it. You can eat it raw, you can eat it cooked, you can eat it like on crackers, on small little bread pieces. It's actually really interesting to me.
Yeah. So what would you say is the most difficult thing you've made, Mark?
My teenagers eat vegetables at home. I would say that's been the most momentous, and trying to come up with a way where actually they would enjoy it. I think it's, for me, it's the baking side, and Chef Julie DuPont is a very rare executive chef in that she's a certified master chef from Europe and also a pastry chef, and those are very different. As you guys know from this kind of business, sound and audio people tend to be different genres, and so in baking it's a matter of extreme precision to get recipes to go right. In a la carte, or just in cooking itself, you can feel your way to a flavor that you're trying to achieve. So I find that probably some of the most demanding things to do. To do a souffle right, not have it fall, it can be a challenge at times.
Right, so with difficult out of the way, your favorite thing to make, like if someone had said, hey, I'm looking to try something new, what would you recommend? Your favorite dish, what would you do?
Well, something new and favorite are probably two different questions in one level, but my favorite thing to make is any kind of protein. It's interesting, I'm from the Northeast, so every region has its own palate. In Northwest Louisiana, it's a lot of cayenne pepper, and we fry just about anything. So just learning, or sharing how to steam items and bring a different means to produce different flavors and textures that are healthier to our group here has been really cool. I like to make steaks, but I like to make hoagies, and I actually know what that is. So, those kind of things. I love to make pizza, any kind of pasta dish.
Right. So, with all this being said, when it comes to the kitchen, I know there's a bunch of different stations in there. Like there might be grill, or like one person in charge of dishes, or even soup, or I don't know, all the different positions. What kind of different positions are there in the kitchen, or about how many different ones?
Well, that's an awesome question. There's multiple positions, so everything from doing the hot line to the garmager, the cold line, to the desserts, to the people actually clean and break down. So one of the greatest things about the business is that you can come in and do one thing and end up in all kinds of other jobs.
Awesome. All right, well, we're going to be taking a short break right quick, so all y'all at home, don't go anywhere, because when we come back, we're going to be continuing talking with Mark and Serena, so stay tuned.
2,297.
What?
Guys, help me!
Good, you're good.
Bossier Parish Community College, the fastest growing community college in the nation. Wonder why?
The arts are crucial to Bossier Parish Community College. We provide opportunities to our students in film, in television, in acting, in music. They get that training here at BIPSI with direct, hands-on approach. They can then take that training back out into the community and get a job.
Here at Bossier Parish Community College, there are so many opportunities and classes that are offered to you. It's like the whole world of theater is right here at BIPSI.
Check us out. You'll understand why. Bossier Parish Community College, the fastest growing community college in the nation. Wonder why?
We at the Bossier Chamber of Commerce value our partnership with Bossier Parish Community College as an educator and a trainer for the local business industry. Together, we will help Northwest Louisiana grow.
And BIPSI's nursing program educates students for the workforce.
Our state-of-the-art lab has allowed us to get hands-on experience with real-life case studies. As a graduate, I was able to find a job right after graduation.
Check us out. You'll understand why.
This is BIPSI, brought to you by the Division of Communication and Performing Arts.
Hey there, welcome back to This is BIPSI. So when we left for break, we were talking about like the different stations in the kitchen. So Serena, like with all the different stations in the kitchen, what would you say is the most difficult for you, or say your least favorite?
Sweeping the floors, mopping the floors, scrubbing the floors.
Well, like let's just say
That's
like
stewarding, technically. Yes.
Yes, that.
like let's like say like for cooking, like
For
for
cooking?
grill or like oven or what?
It would be probably the tilt skillet where we are making the sauces, because that is it's a very large quantity. So you're actually dealing with a lot of water, and you have to be actually really careful not to spill, not to overdo it, or it won't really taste like really good.
Yeah, and you got to get the measurements just right for it to be right too. So that's
Yeah.
probably a lot of pressure on you, huh?
Yeah.
All right. So speaking in kitchens, what do y'all think about like certain cooking shows like Kitchen Nightmare? There's a bunch of different ones. What's y'all's take on those shows? How do y'all view those?
For me personally, I like watching Chopped, where they actually have like mystery baskets. It's really fun to me because you get to improvise everything. You get to come up with new ways, and you experiment as you go by too. So it's a new kind of technique you learn as you go.
What about you, Mark?
I think it's all about exposure. Diners, Drive-In, and Dives is really cool because the guy goes around and goes to all different parts of the world, actually, and you get to see a lot of comfort food. Often there's the same dish, but it's done differently during the time that he's in a particular region. So I think some of them can be a little bit corny, frankly, but they also kind of glamorize. The handful of chefs that are on those TV shows during that, they paid a lot of dues to be there. But it's good. It's just good exposure, and it gives people some different flavors to consider trying.
With chefs in mind, who would y'all say is y'all's favorite, or who would you say like you look up to the most?
For me personally, I would say Chef Heston. He is a British science molecular chef, and he does a massive amount of science into his food, and it's really interesting because he actually looks into the history of every dish he makes before he actually brings it out to the guests, and he does an exquisite job on it.
So he's not just cooking, he's like educated on what he's cooking too.
Yes, he is very educated.
That's pretty sweet. So what about you? Who would you say is your favorite, Mark?
Oh, geez, there's a lot. I think historically you've got to say, this man named Georges Escoffier created the modern restaurant concept. So I wasn't there, although some of my students may think so, in the 19th century. But he's an extraordinary influence. I think Mario is really the guy that I look to. Some of the things he's done with different food is just really exciting, and it's very simple. Emerald was great because he creates great environments that are accessible and that taste awesome. So, you know, I don't know if I could pick one. I like different things from different chefs. I like Pat Steaks in Philadelphia, the best cheesesteak. You know what I'm saying?
So you just like bits and pieces.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. And we try to steal from them, and then do it your way, which is kind of cool.
So kind of like putting your own spin on something.
Absolutely.
And y'all enjoy doing that? Like, what other kind of styles do y'all like take from other chefs, if I may ask?
What other styles? I haven't really been I haven't seen a lot enough actually to actually take styles from other people, but a lot of my own styles are from Asia itself, with steaming, with grilling, with baking. So that's probably the reason why I'm in this program, is to learn different styles itself.
Awesome. So with the culinary program here at BIPC, what would you say is required to like get started in the classes, or like for enrolling? Do you have to have any kind of background experience at all? I know you said like there's people who have no experience whatsoever. So to get started in the classes, what would be required? Are there any prerequisites?
There are some prerequisites, but I think first is desire. We can't teach any of the students want. But if you want to learn these skills and be exposed to things and have a little courage, because we have lots of students that have tried things for the first time, and it's not always really, in an enthusiastic manner. But if you bring the desire and you have that innate commitment to want to improve, you're in. We ask for things like references, and does it help if you have experience? Yeah, it does. It also can mean unlearning some things that maybe you didn't learn as well because you didn't have the right mentors or instruction.
Or maybe just like bad habits that are actually bad.
That's exactly what I was saying. Yes. Yeah, so, but the funny thing about food is that bad habits can also end up being translated into great dishes. Caesar salad was invented because that was all that was left in the kitchen after a storm. Alfredo was invented because a wife who had a baby wouldn't eat any food, and the Italian chef came up with how to make Alfredo sauce. So a lot of times great things happen as much by accident as they do by plan.
So with things being made by accident, like, is there anything that y'all have made? It doesn't say, not saying it has to be like by accident, but has there been anything that you've made that you've never heard of before or tasted? Or
wow, that's a really good question. I think that absolutely is the answer. I've made outrageous mistakes combining flavors that turned out okay. I've also had ones that turned out that I wouldn't have fed to our dog. So I think that when you think about things that wouldn't necessarily go together, so for example, we came up with a peanut butter and jelly burger in one of the concepts that we had, that people at first were like, you got to be kidding me. And then you eat it and you're thinking, in the South they put jelly on a lot of sausage. You go to bite it and you're like, wow, this is all kind of working. So it's interesting how you can take flavors that wouldn't be intuitively in harmony and make it harmonious.
Right. So with the classes, like talking about like you need to have the desire to want to learn, to cook, to do all this. What is covered in the classes from like different stations, like what things you're going to learn, like dishes, or maybe even like safety procedures?
You want to talk about that?
Let me see. The first day of school, actually, we went through the whole kitchen from the front end to the back end to make sure we knew every equipment inside the building. The next thing we would do is go through a sanitation procedure where we learned the sanitation, how to properly wash our hands, how to properly clean our sinks, how to properly clean our cleaning boards, everything to where we don't cross-contaminate anything at all, to make sure the food we bring out is actually fresh and is actually clean and is actually not have anything in it. So no physical, anything chemical at all.
Right. So like for different styles of cooking, what styles are there in the kitchen?
Oh, wow.
Well,
there's a plethora. I mean,
say like the ones that you teach, like
right.
For general.
Yeah, sure. Well, we start off with the basic fundamental sauces. So just like many Louisianans learn about, can mom make a roux? It's the basic sauces that are often the foundation of where you're going to end up with the product. So we literally teach it from the basics out. We teach 100 different ways to make eggs. We teach how, the different ways to saute, to grill, to steam, whatever means that we have available. Now, often you're limited sometimes in your environment by the equipment that you have. So we have to make do with what we've got, but there's always another way to get to your objective, to get to your goal. So, we use all the equipment and we learn just about every kind of approach to food. And what Serena said is really important is teaching food safety. I mean, you can hurt people in our business, so it's fundamental to the program in of itself.
Right. So, what would you say is probably the most challenging thing for students to learn? Like, there's some things that you'd figure, oh, this is super easy, but it may be introduced to someone else and they're like, what in the world am I trying to do? Like, what was the hardest thing for you to learn, Serena?
Let me see. The hardest thing for me to learn was probably actually, I wouldn't say cooking, but maybe some sanitation when you're actually in there. And not only sanitation, but to properly cook a meal, there are some things that you have to actually get to the right temperature. And if you do it by temperaturing, like putting your thermometer in, or not thermometer, but the little, the probe, the probe into the, for instance,
one of those things.
Yeah, one of those things. If you're cooking chicken, for instance, and it's not at 165, and it's below that, you're pretty much eating raw chicken, and you can probably get salmonella. So that was probably something you have to actually get down, and you have to actually memorize every type of produce you're cooking, every meat, every product, everything, to make sure it's perfectly cooked and not raw. Would
you say that's probably like the hardest thing that students have trouble learning with, or is there maybe something else that students have trouble grasping?
I think it's as individuals as students. My blanket answer to your question would be courage, in that, interestingly enough, in all the different diverse students that we have, there's a lot of similar tastes, and getting students to try things. We had a week where we did liver, and I'd be the first one to tell you it's not my favorite dish, but just to get the students to actually pick up the products and cook with them and then try them. And then the challenge for the professor or the teacher is that you actually have to eat all these things you told them to eat in front of them, so they make you do that. So, but I would actually say trying to open the door to open your mind and realize that there's a universe of flavor out there you can get to.
Right, and you just got to find your right flavor,
Right.
All right, well, I want to thank both of y'all very much for being on the show today. Like, y'all have been amazing. It's been so much fun having y'all. And thank you at home for watching, and thank you for tuning in to this episode of This is Bipsy. Once again, my name's Cody Vaughn, and we'll see you again next time.